Good morning. How y'all doing? Who's here? Guns here. Artwork Studios here. AZ Vocal Local. I've never seen you here before. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. That's Improvin. How are you? Oh man, we are just up and at 'em already. Let's see. What are y'all having for coffee today? What are y'all planning to do today? So, let's see. Coffee for me today is... Hello, Wilo Gamer Pro. Good to see you. Coffee for me today right now is... This is four shots, 3 shots of espresso. And, what else? What am I planning to do today? What I'm planning to do today is go to work, which is going to involve flying to Nashville, Tennessee for a business trip. And, probably a busy week. I'm going to stream to get the day started. And yeah, just, you know, another week in the life, you know? Another Monday. What else? I slept good. I feel good. Gun, hi, how are you? I'm good, yeah, man, no complaints. I had a good Sunday, watched a lot of football. The Rams, my favorite football team is the Los Angeles Rams. They beat the Ravens, which is great, so they're 4-2 now. It looks like I'm going to win my fantasy football game, so that's a plus. Yeah, I don't have anything to complain about. You know? I'm trying to peel this dang orange and I can't get it peeled. I'm trying to avoid like spraying orange juice all over myself. American football? Yes, American football. Yeah, I don't. It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like soccer. Does that make sense? It's not that I don't like soccer. It's that I didn't really grow up playing soccer. I mean, I played when I was a little kid, but then in middle school and high school and stuff, that wasn't really my sport, and so I don't really follow it too much now as an adult. The 2 sports I follow the most are probably baseball and football, or American football. That football was like my number 1 sport. Like, I don't talk about it a lot on stream, but that's probably. I mean, I like coding, I like programming, but if tomorrow you came and told me I could go be like linebacker coach for the Los Angeles Rams or any football team, any professional football team, or be a strength conditioning coach for a football team, I'd be like, yes. You know? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, that's probably next to like my faith and my family. Probably football comes after that. I don't talk about it a whole lot on stream just because, well, I haven't interacted with a lot of people in my audience that are big American football fans, but yeah, it's good times. You don't really, yeah, I still don't really know American football. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's good for every country to kind of have their pastime, you know. Like Japan has baseball. That's kind of, which is always funny because I never would have thought that baseball would have been Japan's like kind of national pastime. But you know, hey. I have a nephew actually. I have a nephew who's very into soccer. He's playing for like a club team right now. And they're associated with one of the MLS teams, I guess, somehow. Like if you guys have ever heard of Sporting KC, they're tied into the Sporting KC organization. I don't know if it's through sponsorships or what, but he's big. He's just won a big tournament this past week I saw on Facebook. So looks like there'll be some soccer games in my future, you know. All right, I finally got those dang oranges peeled. That took way too long. All right, so what are we gonna do today? Also, is that better? Sorry, I had the wrong mic on. So I think what we need to do today, probably first priority with this whole project that I've been working on the last couple days, is I need to figure out a better approach to testing it. Because right now, doing what I'm doing is just dumb. So right now what I've been doing is I've basically been running this project every time. And at this point, based on everything we've built to this point, let's see if I can find it. This is basically the diagram we have. This is basically what we're doing, but you can see like we're basically at the, we actually have another node in here. We actually have there's an interviewer in here somewhere. Interviewer. I need to go and update this diagram. But as you can see, if we want to keep testing this workflow, every time we want to test it and we run our app, we're going to have to successfully test more and more, right, of the workflow to validate what we're doing, which is not ideal. So what we need to actually do is we want to be able to kind of iterate on an individual agent. And so what we need to be able to do is run one agent at a time, essentially. So I think that's the first thing for today, is to set up our unit tests, or at least refactor our code in such a way that we can add some unit tests. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to look at our program CS file, and we basically need to make it so that these are not newed up in line. We need to have these, we need to resolve these from a dependency injection container. And then we need to take out some of the hard-coded dependencies in our executors. So if you're new here, what did you say? Oh, I haven't said anything really important. Just been rambling. Test it with InUnit. I'm actually an XUnit gun. So I prefer XUnit. So I already have an XUnit test project set up here. So that's what I'm going to use. But I mean, InUnit, there's nothing wrong with InUnit. It's just my personal preference is XUnit myself. I think the way XUnit approaches test setup, I like that XUnit. I like three things about XUnit. I like that XUnit is parallelized out of the box, out of the gate. So it kind of forces you to think about concurrency, and on top of that, think about parallelization, multi-threaded, a multi-threaded environment kind of out of the box. Your tests force you to do that. And then you also get that benefit of, like, for test setup, you just use the constructor, and for test teardown, you just use the dispose pattern. So you disposable or async lifetime. You use, there's some really nice, I think that's the, I appreciate the simplicity of the XUnit approach. So that's why 9 times out of 10, that's what I'll pick. All right, so first thing is let's refactor the interviewer. So right now, I think what we need to do is, instead of taking in an iChat client interface, we actually need to take in an AI agent, is what we want to take in. So if we go to this directory, we should probably create I don't know what I want to call these. I'm trying to avoid naming these very redundantly. I'm trying to avoid saying like interview agent, but I feel like I'm kind of getting forced into that unless I want to namespace everything. And I don't know if that's what I want to do. Yeah, I think I'll just do interview. Yeah, I'll just do it. Interview agent. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. Interview agent We also need an interface. We're gonna want an interface for this, so we'll say, well, actually, we don't need an interface for this. What we want is we want an abstract class. So I think what we want to do is we want to say, I think what we could probably do is we could just make it as simple as interview agent, and we could say internal sealed class interview agent, and we could say interview agent just inherits from chat client agent. And I think, is this sealed? I'm guessing this is sealed, isn't it? Ah, it's sealed. Okay. Which means then instead of that, we'll do AI agent, and we will implement the abstract class. And then what we'll do is we'll say public interview agent takes in an iChat client, like that. And I don't know, do I need agent options? I don't think I really do, because I think I'm just going to hard code these. You're an XUnit guy? Oh no. Yeah, it's funny. Everyone has their preferred, and especially in the .NET world, everyone kind of has their preferred test runner, you know? And there's nothing wrong with InUnit, MS Test, XUnit, right? They're all at this. MS Test used to be not so good. I will say MS Test used to be something that I wouldn't reach for. But nowadays, I think MS Test is just fine. MS Test, SUnit, XUnit's just fine. However, there is a new one on the block. I don't know if you guys know this. There's a new kit on the block called TUnit. So Microsoft actually, they launched a new testing framework. It's called Microsoft.testing.platform. So this is supposed to replace, what does it replace? It replaces their existing, basically, VS Test platform. And the idea is you're basically, now you become this, you have this portable and lightweight way to produce, I don't know, test executables, test project executables, or test project DLLs. And so XUnit actually came out with a version 3 that supports this platform, but there's a new testing framework called TUnit, which is kind of the new kid on the block, and a lot of people have been switching to this, I guess, based on what I hear online, or a lot of people have been exploring switching to this. I've used it on like 2 small little projects now at this point, and it seems fine. To me, it seems very much in the vein of XUnit. They use async and await a lot on everything. It supports native AOT, which is a big deal, I know, for a lot of people. But yeah, I just thought I'd call that out, since it's not as portable and lightweight. Doesn't seem that much valuable. I think that I don't think I could articulate the benefit very well. Like, what's the benefit of using Microsoft.testing.platform over the existing VS Test? But I'm guessing, if I had to guess, there's probably some performance benefits to it. I know the .NET team did a community stand-up like early last year, that kind of explaining why they did this and what their motivation was. But yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. I think it's cool to see the .NET world evolving and to see new kids on the block. So I always welcome newcomers. All right, back to what we're doing. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if it totally makes sense, because I definitely am not the best salesman for it, because I don't 100% remember exactly what the huge benefit was for moving away from VS Test. I know a lot of it had to do with some legacy reasons, if I recall. But it might be something worth exploring. If you like to write tests for your code, I know not everybody does, but if you do, it might be something worth dipping your toes into. Okay, we need. I think we just need to hold on to a reference to the agent. That's all we need, and then we can take all of this logic. And we can basically move all of this to the constructor over here. Oh, whoops, I don't need that. I just need to add a namespace here. Oh, Copilot. Oh, Copilot. How I cherish thee. Casper.console.interview. I'm wondering how I would even write tests, because I don't know why or for what I'd even make it if console.log and functions itself works fine. I mean, it's valid. I think the way I usually think about tests is when I want to try to have some ability to isolate some bits of code and validate the logic in it. Or maybe I even want to validate two pieces of code that are coming together and validate how they come together, more of an integration test. So this is a good example of why you'd maybe want to test. For example, kind of like what I was saying, where right now, because everything's kind of chained together, I do have the ability to new up an interviewer, right? And I do have the ability to pass in an iChat client. But if I wanted to actually, for example, if I wanted to come down here and I wanted to actually validate this handle async logic, I would actually have to mock this iChat client. And then I would have to figure out what methods the chat client agent, right? What methods does the chat client agent class, whoops, there we go. What methods does the chat client agent class call on the iChat client, right? Because I need to mock out the iChat client's responses so that the chat client agent can return, let's say it returns a bad response, right? Let's say it returns poorly formatted JSON or something. So I would have to mock out all that underlying iChat client logic. So by doing this, I can refactor. If I can refactor the chat client agent out, so instead of newing it up in the constructor, and I can make the interview executor depend on it, now I can write a much simpler unit test that all it has to do is it just has to, whoops, I turned on caps lock. Oh my god. I just have to mock out the run async method. Right? I just have to mock that out. So I can say, hey, for this particular test, I want run async to return this. And for another particular test, I want it to return something else, right? So that I can validate that the methods in the logic in this method actually performs as it should. And you can see even iWorkflow context is an interface, which I'm guessing I can mock that interface. And so then I could also verify that like send message async is called. So that's where I see tests being really useful, is like if I actually wanted to unit test this and verify that this is logic actually flows the way I expect it to. And then the last thing I can do is then I can actually run like an integration test where I actually hook the agent up to Gemini like I would in my production code, and I can actually do like programmatic execution of the agent, and validate that the agent responds to my prompts the way I want it to respond. And I can iterate much quicker, right, than having to run my complete application every time from start to finish. That's a lot of overhead. Yeah, exactly. I like writing tests in new code. Writing tests for underdosed old code, or maybe undocumented old code is worse than refactor. Yeah, I feel like that's unfortunate, because a lot of programmers and a lot of developers, they don't think about the developer or programmer that comes behind them. So how nice would it be if that old undocumented code actually did have tests, right? And so I think that's, as programmers, we should probably think about that, right? We should probably think about maybe treating others the way we'd like to be treated. um, Okay, yeah. So basically, you can see I've kind of got the same code. So my interview agent is basically just serving as kind of a wrapper at this point, right? For this underlying chat client agent. So then all I can do is I just need to defer the execution of all these methods to the underlying client, or the underlying agent, I guess I should say. So we just say agent dot, what method am I on? This is the problem with a really small window. Deserialized thread. So I just say agent dot deserialized thread, and then I'll just pass all the same parameters. We have options and serialized thread. That, and maybe we put this on a new line because this line seems really long to me. Just come over here and we'll just take those parameter names are god awfully long. So we'll just do this. So we're it's almost like we're creating a facade. This is almost like a facade, basically. But by doing it this way, now we can essentially change the interviewer. So instead of doing all of this here, or we can change the executor so that instead of doing all of this here, we can just say, instead of iChat client, we can say AI agent is agent. And then here we can say underscore agent equals agent, and underscore thread equals agent dot new get new thread, I think is what that method's called. And then our constructor here, instead of taking in a client, we'll take in an AI agent. And we'll just pass that here. That should do that. And I'm kind of wondering, do I bother with having like a facade like this, or should I just I'm kind of thinking like, is there really value in this class? There's probably not, other than it's just kind of organizationally valuable. thread. And then we'll do... I have not taken a sip of my coffee yet either. Agent.run async, which takes in the messages and the thread and run options and cancellation token. So we have thread. Well, gosh dang it. Thread, messages, thread, options, token. Jeez. Messages, message, thread, options, cancellation token. Variable captured, this thread, what's wrong? Oh. Messages. And then we'll come over here and we'll do the same. We have messages, thread, options, token. Messages, thread, options, cancellation token. All right, let's see. What are we saying? Tests are their own documentation, since they really are. I mean, tests are a way to encode behavior into your program, into your code base, right? And when somebody does something that causes one of your tests to fail, it forces a conversation around, like, should that have failed? Like, based on the changes I made in our code base, should that test have failed? Was that test brittle? Why did it, right? It drives conversation that a lot of the times happens way too far down the development lifecycle, right? Especially when you introduce a bug or you do introduce a breaking change. So yeah, I'm a big believer in tests. I know not everybody feels that way. Hello, Manish. How are you? I am doing well, man. Yeah, no complaints. We're just getting the day started. I'm drinking some coffee, eating an orange, enjoying my last morning here before the work trip begins. Playing Minecraft while listening to me. Nice, I like it. What is Steven up to today? I am up to working more on that same AI agent project that I've been working on, that Ghostwriter project, this little guy, using Microsoft's agent framework. So I'm still kind of hammering on this thing. And at the moment, we're doing a little bit of housekeeping, I guess you'd call it. And so that we can get to a point where it makes it a little bit easier to have a better inner loop, a better dev cycle. Because right now, my dev cycle is not particularly enjoyable. Let's see, we'll call this interviewer. Actually, let's just call this, interviewer's fine. Okay, great. So we basically need to do this for all our other executors. But then in our program.cs, we also need to do something different, because now we can't say interviewer from chat client. So what we actually want to do is we actually want to resolve all of this from DI is what we want to do. So that's how we're going to add our chat client. But we also need to say services dot add, what do we want to do? Add singleton, maybe add keyed singleton. because we're gonna have multiple. Um, yeah, I think what we want to do is we want to add. No, add singleton's fine. Add singleton, and we're gonna add an AI agent, and the implementation for that is gonna come from the interview agent. Like this. Why can't I do that? Typer namespace AI agent cannot be found. There we go. And then what we'll do is we'll say services dot add singleton. And I think, well, I actually don't know how. Yeah, I think, yeah, we just want an interviewer. That. What I was getting ready to say is I don't know exactly how the .NET team intends you to use the workflow builder in an actual like DI system. So I wonder if they have any examples of that in their repo. Oh, Anurag, sorry, I apologize. I didn't see your question. It is .NET. This is C#, and C# is part of the .NET platform, or one of the .NET languages. But there are actually 3 languages supported on .NET. There's C#, F#, and then VB.NET. Oh, I should probably pin a message, shouldn't I? Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm working on a LLM powered intern for my blog. Drinking some coffee and talking with all of you. Feel free to ask questions or just work alongside us. There we go. Yeah, I really do hope. I think what I would hope the most from my streams is that people would almost find them almost like a little bit like going to their favorite coffee shop, where it's like you kind of set up your workstation and the project you're working on, and you can kind of hang out with me on stream and work on your thing and maybe talk a little bit and chat a little bit. But like it's almost like I almost would like it to be kind of like a virtual or a shared co-working experience. Okay, so let's just get rid of this. Get rid of this? Do I want to get rid of this? I don't think I want to get rid of it just yet. I think what I want to do is I want to say I think actually my really nice static methods for newing up my executors is not really helpful anymore. So I don't really need this anymore. If I'm resolving everything out of the DI container, then I can just say I guess I can just say host, whoops, not underscore, host dot get dot services dot get required service of type interviewer. Yeah, I can do that now. And so let's just see if this all works. After I refactored everything, let's see if this all still runs. because we basically need to do this X number of times. I chat client. All right, what do you guys think? Do you think this will work, or do you think I just completely broke things? Also, do you guys like my collared shirt? I look this is business, Steven. This is this is professional, Steven. If there's ever such a thing as professional, Steven. Let's see. Let's go .NET run. All right. Well. Okay. What's it say? It says a suitable constructor for type Casper.console.interview.interviewer cannot be located. Ensure the type is concrete and services are registered for all oh, damn it. So this is because I'm registering this as an AI agent implementation. And so I think what I need to probably do is I probably need to do add keyed. Right? Yeah, I probably need to do add keyed singleton. And then I'd have to do like name of. And then I'd have to resolve it out. I don't know. I don't know how they expect you to resolve the agents out of DI. That's something I need to figure out. So this may not be the right approach. So just bear with me. I'm just going to do this approach to make sure that my refactoring hasn't completely screwed something up. So this would be an AI agent. No, hold on. This should work. I shouldn't need to key this. Because I'm only registering one... Right? I'm only registering one singleton. So why can't it get the interviewer then? That doesn't make sense. Ensure the type is concrete and services. Oh. Is it because the Hey, thanks for the subscription, Sarvet. I appreciate it. It's because the constructor is not public, I'll bet. Use a primary? Do I want to use a primary? That's fine. I guess I can. I'll do it the new way. I know a lot of people in the .NET space have a lot of feelings about primary constructors. To me, that looks messier, though, doesn't it? That looks messier than what we just had. I'm gonna undo that, and I think I'm gonna turn that that suggestion off. IDE 290. IDE 290. Hey, what's up, GRE Flashback? How are you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by to say hi and hang out with us. We appreciate you. It's good to see you. I hope your day's getting started on a good foot, or maybe has already started on a good foot. Time zones are a difficult thing. For me, it's morning, so I'm just kind of getting out of the gate, you know. I'm not even through my first cup of coffee yet, so the brain power is not quite flowing. we want to C# style prefer primary constructors. I think I'm going to disable that just for this console project for now. We might move that up, but set that to false as they recommend. And then I think I have to restart my LSP for that to take effect. So I can source the. Yeah, I think I have to restart my LSP for that to take effect. LSP restart OmniSharp. I'll give that a minute to restart. You guys have any kind of morning rituals that you do? Like when you wake up? One of mine is I almost always start my day with an orange. Is that weird? My brain says that that's how I stay healthy. That's how I avoid getting sick. But I know scientifically that's probably not a thing. But now it's become like a superstitious thing, I think, for me. Is like, I need to have an orange so I can avoid illness. It's like when you play a sport, you know? Or I shouldn't say you know. But like for a lot of people who play sports, they have like a very specific way they get ready for their competition. Wake up and instantly make coffee. That's definitely part of my morning ritual as well. Life is way better caffeinated. Life and people are way more tolerable when you're caffeinated. But yeah, like people when they're getting ready for sports, they have a very specific way of like, I put my socks on last, right? Or I put my left sock on before my right sock on, right? I think having rituals like that, having routine for how you approach something is useful in my opinion. Shin, well, placebo effect has its share of effect on health and resistance. That's a really good point, Shin, actually. I mean, the placebo effect is one of the most well-studied and documented. We have some of the most well-documented evidence, right, of the placebo effect. And we probably don't leverage that enough in our lives, do we? Like the sheer belief in something being good for you can actually have a positive benefit. That probably goes beyond like wellness, right? So that's a good point, Shin. That's a really good point. That kind of made me stop for a second and think about what things in my life could I apply the placebo effect to for greater effect. Okay, so I think the one problem I have here is that I don't have any executor options registered. So I wonder if, does that work? I don't think I've ever done this before. Yeah, okay. It works. Okay, cool. But you can imagine, like, if you were going to pass in options, how would you do that? You'd probably have to use some sort of singleton factory function in your DI. All right, so my refactoring works, which means now I can technically come into my test project and I could do something like unit. I don't know about you guys, I usually have one test project. Like I have my production project and then I have a test project. And the way I usually do my test project is I usually namespace the different types of tests. So I'll have like integration, unit, and then end-to-end. And I usually namespace those, but I put them all in the same project. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's kind of where I've landed. I know I've seen some people where they separate the types out, where they'll have like, you know, they'd have like in this case they have casper.console.unit tests or casper.console.tests.unit. But I don't really feel the need to have them in a whole separate project. I just put them in different namespaces. So this would be interview. I'm going to put that in a namespace. And then let's see, let's do interview agent dot c or interview agent test.cs like that. And then I'll have an interviewer test. Man, I hate scary movies. I have this TV on in the background over here. And usually I have it on YouTube, just like, you know, some random video will be playing in the background. But there was an ad break, and it played a ad for it looks like a show or a movie called Imaginary, and it just scared the shit out of me. I think scary movie ads should be illegal. It should be like advertising alcohol or tobacco. Or at least in the States. Here in the United States, you can't. Or can you have? You can advertise alcohol. You can't advertise tobacco, though, I think, on TV. Sorry, one sec. I'm going to change it to something else because I don't want to be scared like that again in the middle of the stream. I'm kind of super nervous about my flight too. I don't know if you guys have been following. I know a lot of you aren't based in the United States, but we kind of have a situation here in the United States where the federal government is on shutdown, so a lot of federal workers are furloughed, and the people that run our airport security are technically federal employees. So I think they're thanks for the subscription, Wang. I'm pretty sure they're short-staffed. And so I'm kind of worried that when I get to the airport if security's going to just be an absolute nightmare. I'm hoping I'm wrong about that, but we'll see. Alright, so we can take a lot of this, almost all of this, and we can copy it here. So this is the agent I really want to work on, is the research agent. But I don't want to have to go through the interview agent to test the research agent. That's really so that was the whole point of why we were doing this work. Is because I want to just be able to iterate on this agent. So we have this needs to be renamed to match its folder structure. And this is not going to be an interviewer response. This is going to be a something response. What do we want to call it? A research response, maybe? Why did I call this an interview response? I'm gonna pull all these into separate. Move type to there. I know this is going to look really stupid, but I'm going to put this in a separate file for now. It's just literally a single file. A single line in a single file, which I know seems dumb, but... And then I'm going to put this in its own file. So we have interviewer response. And actually, I think this really should be interview agent response. I am Ron Burgundy. Yeah, I think it should be interview agent response. And then interview agent response, like that. And then let's rename this to interview agent response. And this needs to change too. I probably should have just used the rename functionality, but I didn't. Interview agent response like that. And then we'll do the same thing for the researcher. So the researcher right now, we're just calling it a research, or we're calling it research, but we should probably just stick with the same naming conventions that we've been using. I don't know about you guys, but I don't necessarily think that these are the best name. Like, I don't think necessarily this is the best naming convention, but I do think it helps to stick to a convention, in my opinion. Research agent response. Let's actually change this to have a property name. Nomad Ned. Hey, nice username, man. Sup, dude? What LLM? What's the agent's purpose? So we are using the Gemini API is what we're using actually. But we're using a library called Microsoft.agents.ai, or they call it just the agent framework. So we can really use any provider we'd like to. We could use Anthropic, Gemini, OpenAI. It's up to you. I picked Gemini just because they have a pretty generous, I think, free tier. So if other people want to do something like this, it shouldn't be too much work or money to accomplish. But the purpose of my agent is two things. So the purpose of the agent is two things. One, it's to learn this package, this library that just came out, I guess now 2 weeks ago or last week. It came out last week. It's to learn that library, and then the second thing is that the agent will help me, or the application that's made up of some agents will help me basically draft blogs, right? So imagine like if I actually had a successful content creation company or empire where I could if I actually made money as a creator and I had the ability to hire people to help me do content creation, it would be awesome if I could pay somebody like a ghostwriter, right? To say, hey, I want to meet with you, let's say like a couple times a week, and I want you to interview me about particular topics and sort of distill and extract from me my thoughts and my beliefs on something. And then I want you to take that information and actually produce like a proper post, like a proper blog post that I can then edit and whittle and iterate on and then finally publish, on my own time. So that's sort of what this is. The point of this is I wanted to learn that framework, and then I was trying to think of a problem I had that I could solve with it, and this is the problem that I picked. So it's probably a little simplistic. Like you could probably get this going pretty straightforward, and you could probably do this manually, in Anthropic or in Claude.ai or in the Gemini chat app. You could just manually go in and create some gems, right, and save them off. But I think the benefit of this is it's automated. The prompts are consistent. I don't have to rewrite the prompts every time, and obviously I get the chance to learn this this new framework that Microsoft published. Yeah, their free tier is really good. They're free. I'm a paid Gemini customer. Like I pay for their service, both their API as well as their GUI. However, of all the providers, yeah, their free tier, in my opinion, is the most generous. So I think if you're somebody who's not looking to spend a bunch of money on a large language model provider, Gemini is their models are very capable, right? They're multimodal. They can do a lot of different things. They support tool and function calling and all that good stuff. So I think the value is there too, right? It's a good value proposition, in my opinion. All right, where was that? What was it doing? Oh, I was gonna add property, JSON property name is results for now. I don't know if no one's asked me about this, and it may be because there's other C# devs that already know the answer to this, but I was very confused about this the first time I saw someone do this, where they put this property modifier on an attribute. I had never actually seen anybody do that with an attribute in C# until I started working with records. And the reason you have to do that is because with records, there's actually two results. There is results, the parameter, and then there's also results, the property. And so if you don't specifically declare that you want this attribute, if you don't specifically declare that you want that attribute to go on the property, the attribute will be treated as if it's applying to the parameter. So if you've ever, I don't know, maybe you've worked with records before and you guys don't, that's not a mystery to you, but that was a big mystery to me for a little while, until somebody explained it to me. It'll also leave you kind of confused, because if you apply this here and then you start trying to test your code or work with your code, you'll be very confused at like why things aren't working the way that you would expect them to work. I don't know, I thought I would take a moment to share that in case somebody out there can benefit. Okay, research agent response now. And then we need to pull all of this constructor logic. We're going to pull all of that into our research agent. So let's delete all this so we don't. But all of this is going to be the same. This is basically just a facade, right? This is just this is not sealed though. Just wondering if there's a way to get around doing all this boilerplate in every agent. Yeah, 2 birds, 1 stone, Nomad Ned, for sure. If you can be efficient, there's nothing wrong with that. I also think that like when it comes to learning, you just can't really beat project-based learning. There's just, it's the way to go. Like documentation's great. Doing some tutorials is wonderful. We did all this. If you go back and look at the streams from this week, we read the agent documentation. We worked through some of their examples, right? We set up some playground. But then at some point, to really own the knowledge, to really understand something, you need to actually try to build something with it. Because that's going to give you exposure to all the thorny parts, right? Viral marketing. Thank you for the subscription. I appreciate you. EN4Y Hub, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. Jason, thank you for the subscription. Cyberlenka, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you guys, man. That's awesome. That's very kind of you guys. Radio Man said hi. Hello, Radio Man. That's a pretty good. Your profile picture has caught my eye. That is a cool profile picture. Sorry, I didn't mean to like dox your channel on stream. That's my fault. That is a very cool profile picture. I know some people don't like pictures like that because they kind of look AI generated. Like that. I'm not saying that one is AI generated. I don't know, but it kind of looks like it. But I kind of like the AI generated images, the style of them. All right, going back over here. We're going to take all the stuff from our researcher and we're going to dump that in. We're going to dump that in here. Yeah, I do think what we probably should make a facade class, right? Because if you look at this class compared to the Feta Hine Hine, sorry if I messed up your username. I do my best to try to pronounce it correctly. But if you look at my research agent compared to my interview agent, you can see everything's the same except the constructor logic. So I think what we should probably do, we should probably consider having some sort of facade class so we don't have to repeat this every time, right? Then we just derive from that, and then yeah, let's do that really quick. So let's go into the common and let's just call this what do we want to call it? Agent facade or agent, yeah, we'll just say agent facade is what we'll call it. How do you spell facade? Agent facade. Because that's kind of what that this class represents, right? We're just kind of we're wrapping their underlying class in our own. You think I'd be able to spell this? I have a bachelor's degree, so you think I'd be able to spell this word, but and then let's go over here and let's just extract all this. Let's put that in here. Namespace is going to be casper.console.common. Hello, Lamp. Thanks for showing up today, man. I appreciate you. Lamp is one of the 5 or 6. I think we have 6 members. He's one of our 6 illustrious members on this channel that supports us every month. So we appreciate you. Actually, there's now actually 6 members of the channel. So good to see you, Lamp. Thanks for stopping in, man. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so this is gonna be agent facade, and it can't be sealed, obviously, but it does need to be abstract. That means we can't have a constructor. That's fine. We will need a reference to the underlying agent, though, right? Otherwise, we won't be able to implement these base methods. So we're gonna have to make this a protected read-only AI agent. What are we gonna call this? We're gonna call this not nullable. And we don't want it to be read-only. We want it to be protected, and we want it to be agent, and we want it to have a getter and an emitter. Oh, well okay, that's fine. Oh, I guess what we could do is we could have the private read-only agent, and then we could have a protected constructor agent. Facade is going to take in a AI agent. This is where a lot. I know there's somebody out there that's like, this is the problem with C# code, is that there's too much indirection and too much inheritance, and I mean everyone's entitled to think that what they want to think, right? but somebody is out there uh, screaming that. If not at my stream, just in general. Okay, then we should be able to go back here, and I think what we can do then is we can, instead of inheriting from AI agent, instead of having this field on every class, we can inherit from agent facade now, which agent facade inherits from AI agent, so we're just basically passing down that inheritance chain still. But now what we can do is we can say there is no argument given that corresponds to the required parameter of agent. I think that's where we can call our base constructor, can't we? So we can say base. Or can we not? Oh, okay, yeah. So I need to, this actually needs to take in a, how do I want to do this? I think I want this to have a getter. Like that. The modifier read-only is not valid for this. Yeah, okay. But why does this need to be null? Non-null value, consider adding the required modifier or declaring, say, protected. Required. That. Still doesn't like it though, does it? Required member must be settable. Emitter. The required member agent facade.agent cannot be less visible or have a setter less visible than the containing type. Okay, that's fine. So we'll just make this a protected set. The accessibility modifier of must be more restrictive than the property or indexer. I've literally never seen some of these warnings. So how would I fix this? Is there a code action for this? There's not a code action. So if I just make this set, are you happy? So are you saying this needs to be public? That doesn't make any sense to me. Hi, Lamp. Oh, you can't. Oh, yeah, you had school. Okay, well, good to see you, man. Appreciate you being here. I think I'm gonna pause real quick and run up and get more coffee. Do a little refill. I am gonna run an ad though. So while I run upstairs, I am gonna run an ad. So prepare yourselves. Let's see. Control Shift P, split pane up. This is my very, if you're new here, this is my very fancy be right back screen. If you've been here before, then you know I do this often, but let's see, be right back. Getting more coffee. Also, my Uber is supposed to pick me up for the airport at 7:30, so I think I'm gonna probably stop at like 6:45, 7ish, like right as my kids wake up, and then I'm gonna go upstairs and hang out with them until my car gets here. Alt Shift up. All right, I'm gonna be right back. Okay, so I'm gonna turn up the music a little bit, so watch your headphones. Just be careful. And then I am gonna run an ad, so I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm gonna go upstairs, get some espresso. Why don't you guys take a break, maybe get some espresso, and we'll meet back up here in like 5-ish minutes. Yeah, sound good? All right. BRB. All right, I'm back, but I'm gonna do my customary push-ups real quick, and then we'll start working again. What time is it? For me, it is 5:30 a.m. right now. That's what time it is. All right, back. Let's see. I remembered to unmute myself, so that's a win number 1. I remembered to turn the music back down. That's win number 2. All right, if you're new here, what we're working on is we are working on learning. Oh, excuse me, those push-ups. They made me start breathing heavy. We are working on learning a new framework called the Agent Framework by Microsoft. And if you're curious about it, if you're a .NET developer or you're a Python developer, it would probably be of interest to you. And the repo for that is here. And I also think I have the repo. Do I have the repo in the description of the stream? I think I do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. But you should be also someone subbed. Oh, nice. Very cool. While I was gone, they subbed to an empty camera. Nice. Or maybe they were already here before. Well, I appreciate it. I always appreciate everybody taking the time to sub to my channel. And I appreciate people who become members, like yourself, Lamp. So now if I could just remember how the hell to have a... so I can't remember how to do this. So I need to ask my good old friend and pair programmer, Gemini. I'm working in C#. I want to have a base abstract class that provides a protected read-only field. Let's see if Gemini can figure this out. It needs to be protected. It needs to be non-nullable, because I don't want to have to worry about null checks. I want to have a base abstract class that provides a protected, non-nullable, read-only field to inheriting classes. The inheriting class will set this member in its constructor, or I guess that's the idea. Because technically I'm not really wrapping the agent, right? Because normally when you write a facade class, you would actually take in the class you're wrapping, and in this case, I'm not taking in the class I'm wrapping. I'm taking in a dependency of the class I'm wrapping. So let's see what Gemini came up with. Create a protected constructor to initialize the field. All right, okay. That's ugly, but that's okay. We can do that. That's fine. We can do that. So we'll do protected read-only AI agent underscore agent. Well, actually, we need to undo the renaming we did earlier. So this is going to be protected. This is back to a field, and then we'll have a protected agent facade, which I guess will take in an AI agent, which seems dumb. Hold on. So my base class is my base class's constructor is actually accepting a type that is not the same type as the protected field. Instead, it is a dependency that is used to initialize an instance of the type of the protected field. God, that sounds like gobbledygook, doesn't it? It's like, can you imagine talking to somebody about inheritance and classes that doesn't, you know, it's like, what? Base class constructor is accepting a type? What? Well, let's see. Connection. Oh, now it wants to use a factory pattern. The base repository encapsulates the logic of how its internal connection is created. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that though. I don't want to bring in a factory. I just basically there's not really a good way to do this, what I'm trying to accomplish. This is probably it's probably because because this is difficult to do, this is probably a good code smell that this is not a good pattern. Going back to school at 1. If you didn't see my, I saw all your messages, man. I saw all of them. I saw all of them. I don't know what to say to them other than answer your question about what time it is. The rest of your messages, I don't know what you would like me to say to them. Agent. Let's just do that at the moment. Let's see. I guess. Choose all messages option in YT chat I sent. Wait, what? No. What? I'm pretty sure I see all your messages, man. Yeah, I've responded to all your messages, Lamp. La 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 la. Okay. I wonder if I kind of change my approach here a little bit. So what if I do this? So we say Screw it. Let's do agent get set. Now I don't understand why I can't do this. Why doesn't this work? The modifier read only. Okay, that's fine. And then it's gonna complain unless I do this, right? Yeah. I've spent too much time on this at this point. So what I need to do is I need to do something and say default, and it's not null. That is not, you should not do that. That is not the proper way to do this, but I've spent too much time trying to figure this out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back here. I'll promise I'll add a to-do note on this. Let's see. To do this, not good, but need move on. And then what I can do is here, yeah, then we'll set the agent in here. That's basically what I was trying to do. I'm basically just getting to a point where I can run some constructor logic to initialize the agent of the abstract class, and that way this right here doesn't have to be repeated every single time in every single one of my agents. And then I can go to my research agent. I can do the same thing. Research agent. That's basically what I was trying to accomplish. I know that was 40 minutes of Steven struggling for not much value, other than not having to write some more boilerplate code. But we're gonna move on. There's probably a better way to do this, but we're moving on. Facade. I'm sure I'll be like I'll probably be in the car. I'll be in the Uber on the way to the airport, and I'll be thinking about this thing that I was trying to do, and the solution will come to me, and I'll be like, ah, damn it. Okay. Interviewer, which then means in our program CS we can make further modifications, and we can say, so we registered our, let's see, this is where we're going to add agents to do, this should be .add agents, and then we should have something like to do .add executors, like this. So we'll say services .add singleton, this will be researcher. And then up here we will have services.add singleton AI agent, which will be a, what will it be? A research agent. Although you can kind of see a problem here, right? Because I'm registering two implementations of the same abstract class. So, and these two classes, whoops, these two classes here, they depend on this type. So I think there's going to be a resolution issue when they're trying to figure out which agent to resolve. So I think these probably need to become keyed singletons. The agents need to, or I need to use some sort of strongly typed, I need to have like an interface that's like I interview agent, like that, which I don't think is necessarily beneficial. I think I can just use a keyed singleton. My messages got filtered before, by the way. Huh. Well, you must have been saying some stuff that YouTube didn't like. Lamp. I can't really spend money, though, anymore this month, so rip RP lamps, lamp pass, online domains, except for... Oh, that sucks, man. They cut you off. You gotta get a job, I guess. Hey, what's up, Arvin? How are you, man? Good to see you. Dylan, yo, what language and editor are you using? So this is NeoVim. So this is NeoVim running in Windows Terminal, or NeoVim running in PowerShell, running in Windows Terminal, which I'll guarantee there's only probably a handful of us doing that. And of that handful, I'll guess very few are actually using C#. So this is C#, which is a .NET language. If you're not familiar with it, I primarily, if you're new here, Dylan, I primarily work in C# and TypeScript. If I have the option and I'm doing some sort of back-end related development, some sort of server side thing, I will typically use .NET. I'll use C#. And then if I'm doing something on the front end, then I'll typically use TypeScript. And it's also probably helpful to know that like most of the development I do is kind of web related development. So when I say client, I really mean like something that runs in the browser. Just woke up from 10 plus hours of sleep. Hey, that's awesome, man. 10 hours of sleep. Do you feel refreshed or do you feel groggy? Because I guess either is possible, you know? Because they say if you don't sleep long enough, right, you don't complete all the necessary cycles of your sleep. But then if you sleep too long, you have the possibility of waking up in the middle of a part of your cycle that then leaves you feeling less refreshed, which is kind of shitty. Like, why would our bodies do that to us? It's like, well, if you wake up now, you'll feel great. Now, if you wake up in 30 more minutes, you're gonna feel like you didn't sleep at all. Like, fuck you, biology. Fuck you. I do feel the caffeine starting to kick in. Dylan, I started with Ruby, but I've been learning C++ the last week. I'm pretty much a noob in total. I've only been dabbling in programming for a couple of months or so. Well, that's awesome, Dylan. Keep going, man. I think I've never written any Ruby. I've heard wonderful things about Ruby, the language, and I've heard wonderful things about Ruby on Rails, the community. So yeah, man, I say keep going. I've never written any Ruby. I've also never written any C++. So the languages that I know are C#, TypeScript, Python. I started learning Go like a month or two ago, and my goal with Go is hopefully to be able to do Advent of Code this year. So in the month of December, if you come to this channel, there'll probably be a lot of Go. And then at some point, I'd like to try to learn Rust at some point. OP Burr Gameplay, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate you. But yeah, Dylan, if you're just 2 months in and you're enjoying it, that's awesome, dude. Keep going. I feel tired, to be honest. I cannot sleep right now, but I feel like a zombie. Well, I guess that means you didn't time your sleep cycles quite right. 10 plus hours of sleep, you should feel rested. Hey, Stefan. Good morning. Stefan is another one of our illustrious YouTube members. I mentioned it earlier. There's it's a very small group, a very select few human beings we have that are members. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 members now. And if you're a member, the best there's 2 great things about being a member. There's no pressure to be a member, but the first one is you get access to a members only Discord channel. The second one is you can use this emoji in chat. This is my favorite emoji. It is, if you guys have ever watched Silicon Valley, it's when Jared gets super emotional. And you can also use that one, the one that Stefan just used. And if you guys ever, so if you want to join my Discord, you can just go to https:/discord.stephenfreeborn.com, And if you have any good ideas for emojis, you should definitely let me know. I would love to hear about your preferred emojis. Yeah, but good to see you, Stefan. I hope you're having a good day, man. I guess it's probably for you. It's just getting started, right? You're probably just getting woken up for the day. Host.services.get required service, and this is going to be a researcher. That. The problem is, though, I think, like I said, I think there's going to be a dependency resolution issue. So I think if we run this, oh, well, that one's my fault. That's because in my researcher, I need to make this public. Like that. So that one's my fault. My bad. I still think there's going to be an issue, though. I don't know how it's going to figure out. Yeah, this needs to depend on AI agent, which will be an agent, right? I'll take all this logic out of here, place it that. So it should still work, but I think there's going to be an issue trying to figure out which. Well, it's not going to be an issue because I think it uses the last registered one. Like I think they overwrite themselves, if I remember right. Anybody know off the top of your head? C# dependency injection register multiple implementations of same type. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need the keyed service. Well, I guess I could have an agent factory. That's kind of interesting. An agent factory would be kind of cool. Maybe use agent factory. But I think for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a keyed, let's see, add keyed, like this, add keyed. And I'll just use the name of the class as the key, so I'll say name of research agent, and I'll do the same thing here, name of interview agent, like that. Which this means then in the classes that use them, I should be able to declare an attribute here. From keyed services, and then I think I can pass a name of interview agent, like that. I can do the same thing for the researcher. Yeah, I think the agent factory might look better than using keyed services. There we go. That'll work. All right, now we can actually do what we originally set out to do, which was to work on the research agent. but we needed to kind of do all that work, all that chore work, so we could work on the research agent kind of independently from the rest of all the bits of our code. Yeah, so we'll do we'll do interview, research, or no, not interview, research agent test. And then we'll also have a researcher test. All right, so what do we want to do? I stayed up super later. Stefan, you gotta sleep. It's 1 p.m. Wow, yeah, you did sleep in late. The base emoji I probably use the most is the skull. I like it. Did you take any programming classes? I've been free self-learning via YouTube, Codecademy, AI, etc. The only like formal programming classes I took was, so my degree is in biochemistry. So I got a bachelor's of science in biochemistry, and I took computer programming 1 and computer programming 2 as electives in college. So I guess that's what I would consider like the only formal programming classes that I've taken. The thing that probably helped me the most kind of really pick up momentum on my journey to learn code was a website called Free Code Camp, and I talk about them quite a bit. So if you hang around my stream, you'll probably hear it come up again and again and again. But I just couldn't sing the praises of Free Code Camp enough. They have a really active and engaged community. So if you're participating or using their curriculum to learn, there's a group of people who are that tend to be. There's kind of a spectrum of people that you can depend on to help you as you're going through that process. You have people who are actively going through the curriculum with you. Then you have people who are like maybe 6 months ahead of you. And then you have some people that are years ahead of you. And so it's really easy to get help with the curriculum. It's really easy to get feedback. You interact with people who have gone through that curriculum and have gotten jobs, right? It's a good network to be a part of. And then the other great thing is it's all free. It's all 100% free. And it's not like free where they just like hand you a bunch of PDFs. I mean, it's like a real, like, it's interactive. The first few courses you take, they're all done in your browser. They walk you through how to get set up with a development environment. They teach you Bash. They teach you SQL. Yeah, I couldn't sing their praises enough. So if you're looking for kind of a structured path to follow, that would be my recommendation. Let's see. He didn't. He was yeah. So I got a degree in biochemistry, and then basically programming has been just kind of self-taught. Let's see, Raj. Do you think Microsoft Agent Framework has the potential to be a dominant framework among agentic AI development market, the C# and Python versions? So there are currently only C# and Python versions. I think Microsoft is always going to have a hard time breaking in or having a dominant force in the AI space, because the AI space is heavily populated by Python developers in the Python language. So I still think things like LangChain are probably always going to remain pretty dominant. They are just so entrenched, and there's so much already built on top of them. Those ecosystems, that community is so mature. It's going to be really hard to displace them. However, particularly for the C# community, I think the agent framework could be very dominant. I mean, I think semantic kernel was pretty much it for C# devs. Like, obviously, you could go and pull down a package to interact directly with an LLM provider, but man, if you want something that abstracts away and allows you to swap large language models in and out, semantic kernel really was your only option from a C# perspective. And now they've kind of taken a lot of that learning from semantic kernel and baked it into this framework. And so I definitely think from a C#, from a .NET perspective, Raj, this this could like this is what I would use. Like if today, I know it just came out, I know it's in preview, but if you were starting today to build something, this is where I would start. Because essentially what you're going to end up wanting to do is you're going to want to end up architecting your app like this. So your app will depend directly on the Microsoft.agents.ai library, which will provide a lot of the functionality you're looking for. And then that will depend on the Microsoft.extensions.ai package, which then the community can all develop against, right? All the different tools, vector DBs, different large language model providers, everyone can develop against that extensions, and then everything just then can plug in to the agents package and and anything that supports the extensions package. So I do think this will be a very popular framework in the .NET ecosystem, in my opinion. And I'm loving it. Actually, I'll have to say, my favorite feature of this framework doesn't really have much to do with the AI portion. It actually is the workflow builder API they have in here. So they have this API. So there's kind of two concepts. There's the agents, which are the things that you build that can use tools and have a prompt, and they make API requests. So you have the agent, and then you have this idea of a workflow. And a workflow is much more of it's basically trying. Thank you for the subscription, BBOYG1. They have a workflow, which is you're basically wiring up sort of a graph or like a chain of agents. But the cool thing about this API is it doesn't just have to be the workflow doesn't just have to be agents. It doesn't just have to be AI stuff. It can be other bits of code that you want to call. Like it can just be arbitrary code. So if you're interested, I think, in like really clever programming in .NET or C#, this workflow builder class I think is worth going and looking at the source code because it's very interesting. It basically allows you to build like a dependency graph based on types. Based on types essentially. Like you have like executor types, and then you have those executors respond to data based on the type of data that they receive. It's very clever. And I'll say from the last week of like climbing over this code and reading through this code, I feel like I'm a little smarter, or at least when I look at the code I write now I'm thinking about like, man, maybe I could make my code a little bit more elegant. It's funny that you actually sometimes get way more value out of reading code than you do writing it sometimes, or maybe not value, but more education. So yeah, Raj, I think it'll be a very popular library. What happened here? I don't know why that's error. It's throwing an error. Huh. My LSP must be all screwed up. Let's see. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, definitely, Dylan. Stefan's gonna get a workout in. I like that. Electronic Basics. What's up, Electronic Basics? It has been a minute, man. Testing software is one of the most important yet hardest, most exhausting parts of development. You really have to write meaningful tests that actually cover real features. 100%. The part you said where you said testing software is one of the most important yet hardest and most exhausting parts of development. I feel that. My day job is as a quality engineer. I do manual and automated testing. Thanks for the subscription, GC Dante. So I do manual and automated testing professionally, and I'll agree with that. And I think that statement is a lot of reasons why testing often gets tossed aside, because it is hard, and you do have to take it into account when you're writing your actual production code, right? You actually have to think about how would somebody test this? How do I write this in such a way that it can be tested either programmatically or in an automated fashion? And that adds work, that adds complexity, it adds a cognitive load. And I think then what we do is we rationalize that away by saying, well, we've never written tests before, and what business value do tests actually add? And we come up with all these rationalizations for why we shouldn't do it, which is unfortunate. Arvin, your employer / manager does TDD? No, they. So, I mean, I guess I don't know how much I should actually say, but we do some automated and some manual testing where I work. But I can say we do not practice TDD. And I would say most shops don't. Yeah, because it does add time. Like, there is no lie. Like, people that want to try to say, like, testing doesn't take time, it doesn't take effort, they're lying. Testing takes time, it takes effort. It does add time to the sprints, to the cycles, however you're working. It does add a little bit of complexity to code, right? Especially if you're in a language like .NET, you're gonna have to have interfaces. You're gonna have to have abstract classes. You're not gonna be able to mock without those things. So you are gonna have to add a little bit of indirection. You're gonna have to add a little bit of layering to your code to make it so that you can test things. I think that's worth it, but obviously, you know. None of us yet run a company yet, so, or at least I haven't heard from anybody here in chat that runs a company quite yet. So we are, we can have our opinions, but at the end of the day, we just, we have to do our jobs. Electronic Basics, your content is underrated. It's somewhat rare in YouTube. Keep going. Hey man, that's super kind. First of all, I think my opinion of my content is like it's good, but I think it's good, but I would never expect other people to think it's good. I mean, my content is what I want it to be. It's what I want to make. I'm far less concerned with making content that everybody likes. I'm far more concerned with making content that I like and that I have fun making, because largely making content for me is kind of a self-care activity. It's almost like working out. Like, I feel better when I do it. I know that's probably weird to say. Some people might not understand that, but I feel better when I make things. And so one of the ways I can make things is by live streaming. I can make shorts, I can make YouTube videos about the things I'm learning. So if other people enjoy it, though, that's a plus. Dylan, I'm president of the company of having no companies. Well, the thing is, there's also, though, a benefit to not being the CEO, right? For all the benefits that come with being the person in charge, there's a lot more responsibility. There's a lot more risk, right? Especially financially. You're taking on all the financial risk. It definitely takes a particular kind of personality, a particular kind of person who can do that. Like I know selfishly, as a father, I'm a 32-year-old dad of 2. For those of you who are new here that don't know me, but I know selfishly, like, I don't think I have it in me at this moment to take on entrepreneurship. I did early in my early 20s. I had a personal training gym for 7 years. Well, not 7 years, sorry. I had a personal training gym for 2 of the 7 years that I was a personal trainer. And it was a lot of fun, and I loved it. I loved the entrepreneurial stuff. But now that I have kids and I have a wife and they're all kind of sort of dependent on me, now thinking about that kind of gives me anxiety now, honestly. So kudos to those people who can take on all that risk and can handle, basically can buffer it. I don't know how people buffer it, because if I had to think about that every day, all day, it was like, I've got all these people who are depending on me for a salary. I also need to make money for my family. I think I would find that really overwhelming, personally. Okay, so we need a public class, and this is going to be our research agent test. And I think this is going to complain because it's going to say it's going to basically say because an application's API isn't typically referenced from outside the assembly, types can be made internal. But in test classes, you have to have publicly accessible classes. So I need to turn that off in this case. So I need to disable that in my editor config, but I only disable it for my tests. So I can have a nested editor config file here. So I can go here, and in my test directory, I can say dot editor config like this, and I can just disable this rule. Whoops, not that. Did I not copy that? Dang it. I can just disable that rule for my test projects. CA1515. Yeah, I'd actually be curious going on the whole TDD thing. I would actually be super curious to hear. I think I would be curious to hear how many of you work in environments where TDD is actually a thing. Dylan, I plan to be an indie game dev. I can already do art halfway decently. Just got to get the programming down and some music / sound effect making ability. Then I can make a game. That's awesome, man. I honestly, though, if you want to make an indie game, I don't think you should put all that pressure on you to try to do all. I mean, unless you want to, like, unless you really just want to do every piece of the development cycle. But I'm guessing there's probably some people out there who want to participate in an indie game in those particular areas. Like, I'm guessing there's somebody out there who wants to make music and would like to put it in a game. So maybe there's a way that you can, like, contribute your programming abilities and then somebody else can contribute their, you know what I mean? But I mean, if you want to learn all those skills, I would never knock that either. I would encourage you that, like, sometimes it's nice to not be responsible for all of it. Yasin. Hello, Yasin. Or maybe Yasin. Or Yasin. Either way, good to see you. Thanks for saying hello. Always appreciate it when you guys say hi. Nice to know you're here. LSP restart Omni Sharp since we added a new editor config. Sorry, one sec. I'm gonna blow my nose really quick. So I'm gonna mute. Apologies for that. I know that's not super pleasant. Yassine, what terminal emulator are you using? So this is my setup. If you see me a lot of times on stream or in my videos and stuff, a lot of times I'm working in NeoVim. NeoVim is running in PowerShell, and then PowerShell is running in Windows Terminal. That's typically, if you ever see me working in a terminal editor environment, that's typically the setup I have going on. I don't always exclusively work in NeoVim though. I'm not like I don't have any sides in the editor wars. You know, I say, you know, use the tools that you want to. So I use NeoVim, I use Rider, I use Visual Studio, I use Visual Studio Code. I've been using NeoVim a lot lately because at the beginning of the year, I kind of decided, hey, I've seen the Primogen write a lot of code in NeoVim. It looks like a lot of fun. I'd like to try that. That's why I've been using NeoVim so much the last few months. But that could change. In a year's time, I could be back to using VS Code all the time. Electronic basis. I think that most developers really get lazy with TDD and do the tests after coding. Yeah, but I also, so here's the thing about TDD. There is times where I think TDD is onerous, right? So let me explain. Let me explain. And the best way I know how to explain is to use my hands when I talk. However, I know that doesn't work very well on a stream. So Excalidraw is what I use. So I draw pictures now a lot now that I work remotely. So I think with TDD, or I think with programming, there's often two places you find yourself in. There's a place where you're exploring, and then there's a place where you're actually implementing, right? There's like two different contexts. And oftentimes in the exploration phase, that's where like you don't really understand the problem completely, and you don't totally know how you're going to solve the problem completely. And so a lot of the code you're writing is sort of helping you think through both of those things. And that's sort of the exploring that I'm referring to. So you're sort of using code as a way to explore the problem space and explore how you might solve the problem. However, there's a certain point at which, and oftentimes this happens without you being cognizant it's happening. It happens subconsciously, where exploration has turned into implementation, where now I understand the problem. I understand the edges of the problem, where the problem space kind of lies, and I have a good idea of the different solutions and the trade-offs, and I've sort of settled on one, right? And these things tend to sort of blend into each other, right? This is where oftentimes things go wrong, because we don't recognize that we're making the switch. And in my opinion, when you start to move from exploring to implementing, that's when you should shift to TDD. When you start implementing concrete behavior that should be documented in your code base, that people should be able to depend on and rely on, okay, you should start writing tests. I think when you're in the exploration phase, it's oftentimes too early to start writing tests, and it tends to slow you down in a non-helpful way, a non-trivial and non-helpful way. So I think as you're exploring, it's fine to not be doing test-driven development. It's fine. You're still trying to figure things out. You're trying to see what the right abstractions are for the problem, yada, 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 yada. But at some point, you have to recognize that, oh, I've settled on an approach. I need to start adding tests. I need to get my test project set up. I need to start adding tests. Which I feel like is where we're kind of at with the project that I've been working on, where for the last like 5 days, or like probably previous 5 or 4 days, we've been in exploration phase. We've been trying to figure out the framework. We've been trying to figure out how things work together. What are the different components that the framework offers? How do we implement them? How do we wire them up together? But now we've gotten to a point where we kind of understand conceptually all of those things, and we've sort of settled on how we're going to tackle this problem. So now we should actually take a couple steps back and get the test framework or the test project all wired up so that our dev loop can be much tighter, and we can make smaller changes, get faster feedback without having to run our application start to finish. I know that was a little bit of a lecture, but that's been my experience. Obviously, I'd love to hear how you guys kind of think of it, but that's been my take. Dylan, it's allergy season. I've been having to blow my nose like every 10 minutes. Oh man, allergies. If you watch any of my streams over the last 2 weeks, you will know allergies have been whooping my ass. Me and my oldest son's ass. We have just terrible, terrible allergies in the fall. Yassine, yeah, me too. Not gonna lie, Neovim has such a steep learning curve. It really does. It really does, okay? But if you're willing to set aside like probably 4 to 6 weeks, if you're willing to say, I'm willing to give up 4 to 6 weeks of productivity, right? Of peak productivity. And say you dedicate like 4 or 5 days of that to setting up Neovim, right? You watch some videos, you do some Redditing, you kind of get your Neovim thing configured, and then give yourself like 4 to 5 weeks of using it every day. And at first, you're going to be really slow, and you're going to always be screwing things up, and you're going to trip over your fingers, and it sucks. But on the other side of those 6 weeks, I think you'd be happy you did it. That was my experience, because I put it off for like 18 months. I mean, I've been watching the Primeagen write code on stream for like 3 years, and had just continually been putting it off because I thought, I don't want to waste a bunch of time configuring an editor, and I don't want to lose all this productivity. And so I don't think it's necessary, but if you were interested in it and you wanted to try to find a break in your life, or a point in your life where it makes sense, where you can give up that productivity for a month or so and give it a go. Dylan, my phone likes to lag behind, so my messages might be out of context from time to time. Oh no, I lag too, so I fall behind on messages, so it's probably more me than it is you. Yeah, I get allergies in fall. I don't know. I get allergies whenever the seasons change, Arvin. Shamito, hey, good to see you, man. It's been a minute since I've seen you in my chat. Thank you for I did get a haircut. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was happy I got it. I'm so cheap about that kind of stuff. I just, haircuts are like $25, $30, maybe $35 when you consider a tip. And I tell my sons and my wife, like, hey, you guys get your haircuts whenever you want, whenever you need to go get, but for me, I'm gonna get the most I can. And so I usually go 3 or 4 months without a haircut. I usually get like a haircut every quarter. And it's kind of funny, if you scroll through my YouTube channel, you can see, based on my thumbnails, you can kind of see like where my haircuts happen. I totally understand that. Things get complex super quickly, especially when making software like ERP systems, multiple API versions. Yeah, exactly. And that's where you have to stop. Like, as a developer, it's very easy. Once you feel like you understand the problem and you understand the solution, you almost immediately drop into sort of that flow state, and you just start, the code starts flowing out of your fingers, or like if you're a vibe coder, the vibes start flowing and the prompts start happening, and you've got 10 Claude Code terminals going on. Those are my favorite Twitter posts right now. Is like these people who post like screenshots, and they're like, I've got 6 agents running concurrently. One's doing my front end, one's doing. There's so much vaporware there. But yeah, you get into the flow, and then before long, you have a bunch of code written and no tests. And that's a really shitty place to be, because then it feels like a chore to go back and add tests to the code you've already written, because in your head you're like, well, I know that code's right because I've been testing it all along, right? So you end up writing yourself into a really shitty place in those cases. Steven's just ignoring me. I see how it is. All right. What did you say? Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. What did you say? I apologize. Wait, hold on. I think I missed your... I think I must have missed your message, or they didn't come through. Yeah, I think maybe the message didn't come through. I'm sorry. Yeah, he. I said he's got. I said he's got Nightbot, but everybody wants a Daybot. Oh, that's weird. I wonder why YouTube took offense to that. That doesn't seem like it should be offensive or trip up any spam filters. I wish I did have Nightbot working, but I can't get it to work anymore. I don't know why. I think I'm gonna switch over to Stream Elements. I think Stream Elements has a similar functionality, but I cannot get Nightbot to work anymore. It's here. Nightbot's here because if we go, we can see like it can see everyone's messages, you know. And if I type a command in here, like command. Oh no, I didn't say that, but I am saying. Oh, sorry. Well, if you did post any messages, uh, between the when you said I was ignoring you and previously, I'm sorry. I was not meaning to ignore you. But yeah, if I type command, I'm pretty sure this will increment. At some point it will increment. But for whatever reason, Nightbot doesn't like respond. Yeah, see, look. Isn't that weird? If anybody out there knows the people that make Nightbot or work with Nightbot, let me know. I've joined their Discord and I've tried to get help, and I've tried to do all their troubleshooting stuff. I can't make it work. It's probably a me problem, not a them problem. It's just I'm not smart enough to figure out what the me problem is. Okay, let's say public. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do in this test. So where I'm at with my research agent is I have the ability to do web search. And the way I'm doing web search, the way I'm doing web search is using the Gemini API. So I could implement my own search functionality tool. Obviously, I found a really cool service called XUnit API. Their pricing isn't great though, but it's a pretty cool service. They basically kind of brand them as like an AI. They brand themselves as kind of like an AI search engine. But they return structured data, right? So they do search results, but they return it in a way that's kind of favorable to programmatic stuff. Like I showed this the other day, but it's pretty cool. And I thought, well, maybe I should try that. So here's what it looks like. This is Python, but let's look at the JavaScript. No, let's look at curl. So it's this simple, right? To make a request, and then you get results back like this. And there's a whole bunch of options that you can set to make it do different things. Like you can do context. So I think this will actually return content from the actual page itself. So let me run this real quick. Run. Nope, that's not what I want. JSON. Yeah, there's some way we can get, let's see, live crawl, full web page text. I think this is what I want. So I thought about using this. So you can see now they have like text of the page that it found. So you could kind of use that as your search results. But I basically decided it would be a lot easier. Stefan, one of the messages that didn't get through is I asked you to please check out my new portfolio. Oh, yeah, for sure. You want to send it in Discord? I think we talked about, Stefan, I think we talked about doing like a members only stream where we look at people who are members, we look at their projects on stream and then maybe turn that into a video that we post on the channel. That might be something we do, but I'd be happy to look at your portfolio for sure. But I think also going back to the search tool, I think it's just going to be easier to start with what Gemini provides out of the box, and then if we feel like we need more than that, or we're not quite getting what we want out of it, well, we can switch. But the Gemini API provides a hosted search experience, and obviously it's based on Google because it's Google, right? And so I think that's what we're going to use. So we'll basically get information like this back, and that will be used to inform how the LLM responds to us. I think what I want to do is I just want to make sure that it can actually search the web, is what I want to do. So let's go to my system instructions here, which I didn't write. Full disclosure, if you look at the code for this repo, I'm not saying that the prompts are good, but if you look at the prompts and that are in the repo that are committed to the repo, I didn't write any of these. I basically went to, this is what I do for all the prompts that I have to come up with for AI stuff, because the LLMs are far better prompt engineers than any of us humans probably could ever be. So what I usually do is I just go to Gemini and I tell it I need a prompt for this type of agent to do this type of goal, and that's what I use to start with. And then you can always iterate on it from there, like as you run evaluations. You can always iterate it on there to like make changes and see if your changes are helping it get better or worse. But yeah, this is the system prompt. So I think what I want to do is I just want to make sure that it can actually use that search tool, or that search tool is being used properly. So I think my agents actually need to be an integration test, right? Because I actually want to talk to the Gemini API. I don't want to. There's no sense. These agents are basically wrappers for making API calls. Stefan, yeah, sure, I sent it. Oh, nice. That's a cool. Hey, that's a really cool. That's a really cool domain, Stefan. Do you mind? Hey, Stefan, do you mind if I show this on stream? I don't want to dox you or cause any. You almost got me, Stefan. You almost got me. That's hilarious. You almost got me. You didn't get me. What's the what are you gonna actually host an actual website on that? Because that's a really cool domain. How much did that cost you? Stefan's domain is Stefan BP. For those of you who are curious what Stefan just sent me. He's check out that domain. You guys will love that. It sounds like my wife's awake. She's probably getting my kids' lunches made for school. All right, I'm probably gonna go for another 30-ish minutes or so, but I am gonna hard stop at 7 because my Uber will be here at 7:30, and I want to see my kids for a little bit before I go. Yes, nothing. It's my subdomain only. So you own the domain ftp.sh? That seems like it would be a very expensive domain. Dylan laughed my ass off. See, this is why we need to do this on a members only stream so that people or I need to vet everything I look on stream off stream before I look at it on stream. I think that's what the professional streamers do. All right, so I think I need to move this class. Hold on, this class needs to be in a different namespace. So this needs to go up 2 levels and then up, actually. Let's make a new directory called someone out there is probably yelling at the screen because of the way I organize my namespaces, but this is the way I've found I like to do it. We're going to move this one up to, and then into integration / research. And then we're gonna need an API key, so we're gonna need some sort of what do we want? I guess we're gonna need integration, maybe infrastructure is a good name, and we'll do configuration. Hold on. I host my actual blog on it at some point because I don't really see the point in a portfolio-only site. And I pay nothing for it. It's free. It is a free public domain which you can use through free DNS. Oh, really? You can use .sh domains or .ftp.sh domain? .ftp.sh domain free DNS? Huh. That's pretty cool. I don't know, I like the .sh top level domain. I actually bought a couple domains recently. I bought I bought Steven.cc. That was one I bought. And then the one I bought that I actually like more than any of the others is I bought one that is Steva.nz. So I was trying to be clever. I was trying to think of some way I could incorporate the top level domain into my actual real name. And like, I kind of have a bad name for that. Because like freeborn doesn't work very well. And the way you spell Steven doesn't work. The way I spell my name doesn't work very well for a lot of top level domains. But I found the .enz. I was like, well, that kind of works. It is a, so you know what? I want to make my blog in static HTML only, but also make it work in terminal. Yeah, there's, do you guys ever watch You Suck at Programming? Yeah, Stefan was already, he was already thinking the same thing as me. There's a gentleman, I found him originally on TikTok, but since starting creating content on TikTok, he also makes content on YouTube now quite a bit. His real name I think is Dave Eddy is his real name. But if you're into like kind of lower level programming, particularly if you like shell scripting or bash, things on the terminal, he's obviously a very competent engineer like beyond that, but a lot of his content is centered around that type of content. If you like that type of stuff, you should go check him out because he's like a bash wizard. And he has a website called ysap.sh. But like Stefan said, it also works on the terminal. I'm pretty sure you can curl it. Knowing my setup, it won't work well because there's something weird about PowerShell or something. But I think if I curl this, I think actually I'm zoomed in too far. So let me zoom out a little bit. Whoops, sorry. Like, isn't that cool? That's pretty awesome, right? That it just, and you can, and then all those commands work. So you can do like, uh, let's try curl ysap.sh/help. That's real. I think that's really, really neat. And he kind of explains it. He has a video. He has a video where he explains it, right, Stefan? How he did it. Website terminal or something like that. Yeah, this is the video where or I guess there's two here where he explains it. So if you're interested in recreating it, it's definitely possible. I think he looks at the user agent or something, and then he decides to what content to send back. So so I have a really, really simplistic main website that I haven't updated this in, man, maybe 4 years. We can go look at the Git repo, but this is my main, like this is like stephenfreeborn.com, and this is just a static HTML page. This is literally, I think it's a single index.html page. But I'd like to update it, so maybe that's part of, maybe I follow your lead, and when I update my site, I make it work in the terminal too. Yeah, this is all just, it's just a vanilla CSS, vanilla HTML. A lot of times that's all you need for a brochure site, right? Oh, 3 years. So I haven't updated this in 3 years. Man, that seems like a lifetime ago. Life has changed a lot in 3 years. He made it so if it's gotten via curl, it sends the terminal format. Yeah, I think that's cool. I love it. Very creative. All right, 15 minutes, and we've worked on my research agent all of none of it. Okay, so we're gonna need, let's see, we're gonna need a settings file that has some credentials in it, because we can't talk to the Gemini API without having a key. So I think what I'll do is I'll go to my test project and I'll add a app settings.test.json file. So let's go app settings.test.json, and then in my csproj file, oh, I added that at the wrong level. App settings.test.json, and then in my csproj file, I will add that item group, but instead of copying app settings.json, we are going to copy app settings.test.json. And I don't want to show you guys my API key, so I'm going to open that off. I'm going to try to open that without doxing without, what's the best way to do this? Should I just hide my screen maybe? I don't know. I don't really want to show that. I don't want to have to rotate the API key. Let's see. So Gemini client options is the name. And what does this? What things need to be set? I think I just need 2 things set in here. The API key and something else. Excuse me. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me all morning. It's very kind of y'all to keep me company. All right, and then I'm gonna generate. I think I'm gonna generate a new key that's just for testing. Because I'm probably going to run this. I'm probably going to use this to run evaluations with it. So I want to be able to track, like, how much is it costing me to do evaluations? Where am I here? Oh, I'm in a lib folder. Okay, so if I go back to my app settings.json, so this is going to be my testing configuration, because I'll need this as part of my integration test to actually talk to Gemini. So I'm going to have I'll put an API testing key here, but I need to get these options and add them to my configuration. Or I guess I should say I need to supply them. Yeah, I need to supply them as for configuration for my tests, basically. I basically need to have a fixture that I can use, right? A Gemini client fixture that I can just use in all my integration tests. Spaghetti 5 million. Gemini is like the most stupid clinker. Man, feel strongly. See you, Stefan. Have a good day, man. I hope your workout's great. Sounds like you got a big one planned. It's like an over-engineered search engine that is right 1/3 of the time. Dylan, no problem. Appreciate you receiving. Yeah, for sure, man. I'm always happy to. Like I said, I always feel it's selfish. It's kind of selfish, honestly, because I just always feel like when I get off stream or I get done making a video or I get done writing some code, I just feel more motivated to like do things in my life, to make stuff, to try to make it's like working out. You know what I mean? Like, you know how like when you wake up and you're like, I don't really feel like, going for a walk or going to yoga or lifting weights. And then you kind of force yourself to start doing it. Like maybe you just, I'm just going to, I'm just going to get in the car. I'm just going to drive to the gym, right? Type of thing. And then once you're in there and after 5 or 10 minutes of doing it, you're like, yeah, this actually feels really good. And then afterwards you feel like 10x better. I have that same type of experience when I spend time making stuff or creating things. I think it's important to listen to that, right? When you find activities that make you feel better, make you feel motivated, right? And hopeful and optimistic, you should try to figure out how to integrate those activities more and more into your life and find more and more activities like that. Let's see, Casper console.test.integration .infrastructure. That's quite the namespace, isn't it? If there's one thing I'm very good at, it's creating very long namespaces. Okay, this can be an internal class of type test configuration. And then this is going to have I think this can be a protected member. Since I'm using XUnit, I think I can say this is going to be protected. I think that makes sense, right? Which will be configuration. And then I'll just call this config. This will be have a getter. I don't think that's what I want. What? I've never seen that namespace before. Microsoft.testing.platform.configurations.iconfiguration. Microsoft.testing.platform configuration. Dylan, I feel that. I procrastinate so much, but once I actually jump in, hours pass without me realizing it because of how much I enjoy it. Yes. 100%. 100%. Microsoft testing.platform offers several ways to configure its behavior. Yeah, I don't want that then. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to configure the platform. I'm looking for the other I configuration. I'm looking for like using Microsoft.extensions.hosting. Do I not have a reference to my... Oh, I don't. I don't have a reference to my production project. That's hilarious. Let's go back and remove this real quick. I don't like this song. There you go. That's better. I use this website called I think I've shown you guys this before. I use this website for music called lofigenerator.com. And so if you need music like this is a great website for that. It's also great because it's algorithmically generated. So if you are doing something with content, right, or you're worried about copyright related things, it's awesome for that. But most of the time it does a really good job. But sometimes it starts generating these tracks or these songs that have like these really sharp high notes, and for whatever reason my ears just kind of revolt at it. What was I doing? Oh, I need to add a reference. So we'll say .NET add source Casper.console. So to that project, we're gonna, or no, this needs to be our test project. Test Casper.console. Add a reference to source Casper.console. Oh, and also going back to what Spaghettini 5 million said about the over-engineered search engine, I understand what you're saying. However, I do think there's a distinct difference in the experience you get from using something like Gemini versus a search engine. There are times when a search engine is superior, but there's also times when an LLM is superior, right? Like, particularly LLM, in my opinion, is superior when you pretty much kind of know what you want, but you're not 100% sure how you would implement it or how you would accomplish it. And so you kind of want somebody to give you like a for instance that's like specific to what you're trying to accomplish. To me, LLMs do really good at that because they can like craft the answer to be personalized to you, which is, I think, is more helpful versus like with a Google search, you have to actually go digging through all the links to find something that sort of kind of illustrates the point that you're trying to make or demonstrates the thing you're trying to do, and then you have to do some sort of extrapolation in your mind of how that applies concretely to your use case. So I think I think it depends. I understand what you're saying, but I think it depends, in my opinion. Okay, you're a Clanker user. Just use ChatGPT to generate your code too. Wow. Spaghettini 5 million coming in hot, man. What time is it for you? It's 6:55 in the morning over here, and calling me a Clanker user. Um, I don't typically use ChatGPT that much. Um, I do use Copilot though to generate code. You know, like I do sometimes use Copilot tab completion, and I definitely rubber ducked with an AI before on a problem. You know, like here's what I want to do. How would you do it? But uh, but yeah, if that's not your thing, man, I respect it. That's okay. You don't have to be a Clanker user. Totally fine. On the AI front, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. You know, I see the value in it, um, but I also don't think it's gonna like completely change the world forever. Or I guess I shouldn't say I don't think it's gonna. What do I say? I do think it has changed the world forever. I don't think it's gonna like take everyone's job, burn down society, and turn us all into useless meat suits. I guess. You know, I'm not like an AI maximalist. I'm not an AI minimalist. I'm somewhere in the middle, which I know is a really weird place to be nowadays. Yeah, that's the one I want. I want that one. I configuration config, and it's just going to have a getter, and then we're going to set that in our constructor. So we'll say public test configuration, and this is the way I do this. I don't know if this is the best way. It's just the way I've settled on over the last couple of years for getting configuration into a test project. If you're doing something with like a web API, there's some pretty cool libraries that will help do like integration testing with a web API, but this is how I typically do it with like library code, right? Or library like code is we'll have a config will basically be equal to a new configuration builder. That, and then I'll say add JSON file, and then typically I'll just have a constant for the configuration file name. I'll say public config file name, set that equal to what we have it specified as. Does it want this to be Pascal case? And then I'll typically say config file name, and then I will have optional is going to be false. So it should throw if it can't find it. And I'll typically do that. And then I can use that config in other classes or in other places. That's typically my approach. AI can help, but it tends to give the most basic generic way to do codes, and you've got to understand coding to an extent to understand how to change to fit your needs. Yeah, for sure. I just think it gets you a little bit closer to the answer you were looking for, a little faster in some cases, with a little less clicking. But like I said, there's definitely times I find myself reaching for like a Google search over an AI, like a query through Gemini. But yeah, I'm just not super opinionated on that kind of stuff. You know, like I'm sure you guys have seen this before. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Um, I'm just gonna leave on. I'm gonna leave on this note. But I'm not a super opinionated individual when it comes to tools. Like My opinion is this. That's my opinion. Like, you want to use Google search, use Google search. You want to use Chippity, use ChatGPT. If you want to use, if you don't want to ever touch AI again, don't do it. If you want to use NeoVim, great. If you want to use VS Code, even better. You do you. All right, guys, I'm gonna go put the final touches on packing for my trip, and then say goodbye to my kiddos and get on the road. I am gonna try to stream from the road. I don't know what that's gonna look like still. I have a couple ideas. So tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, if the streams are kind of chaotic and not that great, please have a little bit of patience and forgiveness for me. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. I hope you have, if it's already Tuesday for you, hope you have a great Tuesday. And I'll either see you tomorrow morning, or I guess I'll see you in a short or maybe a video. Either way, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Bye, Dylan. Bye, Spaghettini 5 million. Anybody else who's here? See y'all. Bye, chat. Bye.